Hey everybody, we are live for Sunday Breakfast with the Coach. So hopefully people will be joining in and I'll be getting your questions and comments and things like that. So yeah, let me know when you are on board. Hopefully I'm coming at you well. A little bit of technical difficulties at first, trying to use a different camera and didn't work out. So hopefully you're all climbing on board here, and we'll get to topics at hand in a minute, and I'll take your questions. And I wanted to do some commentary. Hopefully, you can all hear and see me just fine. And numbers are climbing quickly. So I tried to do a Facebook notice yesterday. Hopefully, you guys received that notification of going live. Hopefully, everybody got that yesterday, and then. So we are live today. Just a couple things I want to get to, and then I will get to all your questions and things like that. So, yeah, so we'll get the comments coming in. I am back on my phone. For some reason, my desktop wouldn't work. So, all right, Omar's on board. Yeah, just let me know you're out there. Numbers are climbing. It's just a couple of things I wanted to go through, and then some people had some questions. Hopefully you're on there and you will repeat those questions as we get going. So just wanted to get started. Yeah, I'm a little off base because I planned on doing this from my desktop, and for some reason it wouldn't work. So not sure why that would be, but we're good to go. So, all right, people coming from all over the world, all over North America. Good to see. See your comments. And yeah, so I'm going to jump right in then because the numbers are climbing. So, okay, Nicholas asks about the Busy Woman's Train at Home program, about the diet element in there. Is the diet suitable for every woman following the program? Well, the diet's just sort of an extra bonus to help ladies who might need help in that area. It's not necessarily specific to a program. No diet should ever be. Anyone who comments that a diet matches a program really doesn't understand much about the human body, that's for sure. So, yeah, that diet info was just in there as part and parcel of, having the overall, taking control of the overall effects of everything. So, that's the important thing. So, finally a fellow Canadian on board. So that's good. So, in the past, what I've done is I've taken the time to read letters that come into me that aren't necessarily from my clients, right? And they're letters that I think other people relate to, and problems and issues that people have and things like that. But I thought it might behoove me to read some other letters and get a people a feel for the coaching relationship, what the coaching relationship is like, how clients report in, things like that. Because there's really a lot of, up in the air stuff about what good coaching is and what it isn't, and that kind of thing, or just even in terms of, client relevance. I still get questions, how can you coach me if I live far away? Well, 90%, 95% of my clients are all over the world. So obviously I don't get to see them in person. It's not personal training what I do. So I thought a few letters to the coach that are actually from clients, and one that is not, might shed some light on how things work. And then I will get to your questions, because a couple of people sent in some pretty good questions. So I'm going to read a few client check-ins, maybe just a couple, see how much time we have. And then, you guys can comment, get a feel for that kind of thing. I'm always doing, like I said before, the letters I read tend to be those from people who struggle. So I thought now I'd read some letters from people who are, in the zone with coaching and training and things like that. So this first one comes from a client, I'll just say from Europe. This client has been with me, since 2010. So a long time. So he reports in, and he said, "Hey coach, reporting in week 10 of my program. Everything is good here. Finished 2 5-week rounds of this program, and I think one more 5-week round still to go. What do you think, coach? Love the program. It's quite similar to the previous program, so it was easy to just jump straight into this program from week 1. straight into the mastery phase. I also like the tweak in this program where you train opposite body parts. So it won't just be one muscle group once a week, and that feels good. Metabolism is working great. I feel great. I look great. It's been at least 5 or 6 months that somehow I felt even better than I usually do. 5 or 6 months running now, I keep feeling better. Like good energy levels in the gym, always great workouts, still full of energy even on my rest days. Cheat days, this person's on the cycle diet. Cheat days work great also. I can eat a lot and don't get full, and I mean a lot. Lots of donuts and cheesecake, carrot cake, ice cream, chocolate, some burgers and pizza, but I'm usually craving more sweet stuff. All the normal signs of super comp mode are easy to read on my biofeedback. My muscles are full, veins are popping out, I'm getting a thermogenic effect, sweating, really thirsty the next morning, and so on. I usually gain 7 to 10 pounds after the refeed, and it takes 2 to 3 days, and the weight comes all the way back down again to where it was before the refeed. We had a holiday week a couple of weeks ago. We were 1 week in Spain. It was very nice to travel there. I trained normally, but had the week off diet. I ate whatever I wanted. I drank beer and ate at good restaurants, like what you do in Aruba, coach. Smile, smile. It was very hot there, so big change to my metabolism. And still, after only 1 week off the diet and eating whatever I wanted, I was still leaner and weighed less than before the trip. And when going back to my normal diet, it took only a few days to get back in the business and in shape and back into super comp and right away on to the next refeed day. So everything is great here. So that's a client of mine from Finland. That's one of the things I wanted to point out there. This person's on the cycle diet. The way he checks in, because he's been with me for so long, he knows how to read the biofeedback. So he presents it to me as fact and not questions. But you can see all the positives there when you're coaching someone and you apply a program specifically to that person. Then you see how you create that arrowhead effect where there's less struggle and less negative things to kind of deal with, and people get into the zone of what I call riding the wave, which is positive element. So that came in on Friday. That particular client's been with me for, like I said, about 6 years or more. So another one, I'm reading both clients who are from Europe, and I'm on the West Coast of North America. So this is what coaching is. So this next one came in, a client who's also been with me for a long time. He writes in and says, hey, coach, I'm in the 4th week of my current program. And he names the program he's doing. Program's going really great now. Starting to coast through better than the first 2 weeks. Really have started to notice strength increases on my limit strength sets. I'm leaving plenty of room from failure, as you advised, and have noticed that my weights are creeping up. I'm also doing Andy's Awesome Abs program on separate workout days as you directed, and things are picking up there as well. I did 3 times through those this week. For my biofeedback, my hunger levels have ticked up some this week, but I lost 3.6 pounds this week. And also my sleep patterns were a little disrupted the last 2 nights, but nothing bad, but something I noticed, so I better let you know. Energy levels are still good. Workouts are starting to coast along from the break-in phase. I was scheduled to have a cheat day this weekend, but was thinking of putting it off another week since my last cheat day 2 weeks ago was a little sluggish. Not sure if it was because of the donuts to start the day, but after my 3rd meal, I just wasn't feeling really hungry and empty like usual, so I didn't force feed and I just waited. I was able to eat again before bed due to my hunger, but definitely wasn't a bottomless pit like usual. I hadn't had baked goods in a while, so I started off with that. I'm not sure if that may have had something to do with it. Let me know what you think on the cheat day, coach. I can go for it this week if you think I need it. Otherwise, I will postpone it till next week. I'm fine either way on that. I can also do a half refeed day if you think we should try that. All in all, things are going well. Like I said at last check-in, coach, I'm loving this program, loving hitting opposite body parts. And then he signs off. So what you see is people that are checking in regularly because he mentions his previous check-in, things like that. And they're reporting in on their biofeedback, things about their body that they're noticing, what's going good, maybe what's a little troublesome, this and that. And that's what a coach looks for. Like I said, you coach people, not programs. All right, the program is just part of that. So here's someone also been with me for years and years, And, in this week alone, he dropped 3.6 pounds. And that probably had something to do with the slightly disrupted sleep patterns and increased hunger for sure. Any of my people know I'm quick to point out the reality to anyone and everyone that weight loss and hunger go together. The more weight you lose, the hungrier you're going to get. That's your body's feedback loop that the fitness and weight loss industry doesn't want to tell you about, but that is the fact. So that's important. And then I got an email from Nancy from North Carolina, who's with us this morning. I seen that she signed in, and I asked her if I could use her email, and she said sure. So Nancy is, here's the thing here, Nancy's 63 years old. She's not a client, but she's a regular follower of Sunday Breakfast with the Coach, and she's got several of my books, etc. So Nancy wrote me a letter and said, I wanted to tell you something really cool. I'm at the end of the 5th week of Physique After 50 program. That's my program, my book, for those of you who don't know. And I've gone up in strength for 25-pound dumbbells for shoulder presses on day 5. I'm so excited about this and some other strength gains, like 30-pound dumbbell chest presses on day 3. Then I go a lot lighter and everything where there are more reps, but also kind of feeling like my old self again. So I measured my waist, and my waist went down from 30 to 27.5. And I'm not doing cardio, just your 6-day plan. So everything I have read online the last few months before I found you, saying that a postmenopausal women my age, and again, Nancy's 63, wouldn't be able to lose in the waist without taking supplements and doing a lot of other stuff. And I wouldn't be able to lose it till I started this. And it's so amazing just losing the weight just doing your Physique After 50 program. Hang on, and I'll get to your comments in a second, folks. And then she says, I totally stopped supplements and the barbell squats as per your advice, and I'm going lighter on legs because of some knee pain, but I'm doing all the glute stuff and waiting on the glute program when it comes out. And then she said some very nice compliments to me. So that's just a letter from someone who's not a client, who's also seeing success with one of my books, Physique After 50. So I thought I would read some of those stuff to give people the wrong idea that everyone who gets coaching are people who are struggling, because it's just not true. All these letters came in for me on Friday, which that's a good Friday for me, when people write in and are reporting positive things and showing up for the accountability that coaching is. You noticed in those reports from those clients, what we had was honest reporting. What was going well, what was maybe not going so well, and then asking, hey, coach, well, what do you think? What do you want me to do from here? That's what coaching is. It's not about, hey, did you stick to your diet, or, what were your macros, and, all those kind of things. So those are the kind of things I think were worthy of pointing out, that I could just take random client check-ins. I have over 100 clients spread all over the world. And that's why clients do well, and that's why the people who have coaches tend to do better than the people who don't. And like I said, the first 2 clients that I read, they've been with me years, and they live in Europe, and I've never met them face-to-face, and I don't need to meet them face-to-face. You should, if you're thinking about getting help in the fitness industry, the one thing I always say is pay for expertise, not proximity. In the era of online global, internet, global market, the fact that you can reach out to someone across the world means you can have access to true experts at any time. So it shouldn't matter if someone's close to you or not. That just doesn't make any sense. So don't pay because someone's nearby. You pay for expertise, and you should pay for the best expertise you can get. So now, having read all that, I see I'm a little behind in your questions. So I'll start your questions now. When should we be looking for the release of the HardGainer Solution course? Gabriel wants to know. I have no dates on that, Gabriel, but it is more or less finished. But right now we are happy to be putting the finishing touches on the ladies' home training glute circuits. We're going to be calling that Great Glutes. And that should be out within the next couple of weeks. I accidentally missed videoing a couple of the exercises, so we'll get the lovely Krista this week. And we'll get those, we'll get those on video, and the product's pretty much ready to go. I know ladies have been waiting on that for a long time. So that one comes first, and then the HardGainer solution is being done kind of like at the same time. We're all over that, so that should be out shortly after that as well. So Craig wants to know, can I speak on behalf of liquid nutrition? Seems to become very mainstream in the diet industry. What kind of impact drinking your food has on the digestive system? Well, that's a great point, Craig. Especially people struggling for weight loss, you should be eating your calories, not drinking them. Food that's been previously digested or things like that, you have to watch out for. You want strong digestive environment, and you get a strong digestive environment by having to actually digest and masticate food. It all starts in the mouth with chewing. Very, very important part of the whole digestive process. So if you want to keep digestion healthy, you eat your calories, you don't drink them. So the healthiest thing you can drink in the world by far is water. All right, so, and it doesn't need to be magic water that comes from the Alps on a rainy day and on a full moon, during October. Forget all that marketing crap. Stay well hydrated, but never drink your calories. So, unless you have some digestive reason for doing so. There's no magic in protein powders and shakes, so forget all that. And get your nutrition. If you're going to drink calories like fruit juices and things like that, thinking they're healthy, well, they're also going to create an insulin dump and things like that. So you're better off eating your calories rather than drinking them, because it's way easier to overconsume with fluids than it is with food that you have to chew. And don't forget, digestion begins in the mouth. So if you're bypassing that by drinking calories, you're already excluding a very important part of the digestive process. When you choose food, amylase, a digestive enzyme, occurs in the mouth, and that tells the stomach to get ready to digest food. So if you bypass that, you could be asking for a digestive problem. So all these places like Booster Juice and these other places, I don't get it. It's like people are just completely uneducated when it comes to basic nutrition 101. That would be the last place you would ever find me, as at a Booster Juice. If you would find me there, it'd probably be on a cheat day, and it would probably be because I'm there with someone else who wants to have a Booster Juice. I would rather eat my food, or if I'm going to get liquid calories, it's going to be from beer. But that's also on a refeed day. So great question there, Craig. What are my thoughts on alkalinity and acidity and drinking lemon water and apple cider vinegar? It's overstated nonsense. Our digestive systems are set up in a certain way that we don't have to control alkaline and acidity the way the tree huggers want to market that to you. Yes, I mean, if you eat in a whole healthy food way, that's going to take care of itself as well. Those things where they talk about, unhealthy inner states of the body and the digestive system are usually from people who aren't following any kind of healthy regimen anyway. If you are following a healthy regimen, then all this stuff about acids and bases is really, really overstated, and usually overstated in order to sell products. So the body always will work itself out. The biochemistry of that is pretty well researched and pretty well known. So forget, if you like lemon water, drink lemon water, but there's no health benefit to it. Apple cider vinegar, even worse. I don't know about you people, but I like to enjoy what I put in my mouth and what my body can taste, and drinking apple cider vinegar, that just sounds like a whole lot of nasty. And way back in the day, I think I had a couple capfuls of that, and that was enough for me. So, there's no benefit to this stuff. This stuff, here again, is where we find where the industry likes to present something that's incidental as if it's instrumental, and it's just not. The effects that's going to have on health or leanness or whatever is so insignificant that it's barely measurable at all, if it's measurable at all. So sometimes what can create a difference in biochemistry isn't really creating a difference in any kind of measurable health or cosmetic advantage. And that's what's going on there. Marketing to use stuff like, ooh, apple cider vinegar will, correct your pH balance and help you get leaner and all that stuff. It's a bunch of marketing nonsense. So eat food, not a lot, mostly plants. That's the motto to go by. So very important there. I'm trying to get, oh, there we go. Hey, Coach, you spoke a bit about holding water with Andy. What does it mean when you have rings around your ankles from your socks, even when eating on a whole foods diet and not, yeah, and then it just cuts off with no table salt, just sea salt. Then I'd switch to table salt. If you do have that kind of edema, that's just called edema, where your ankles swell like that. It could be some kind of circulation issue. It's most likely does have something to do with electrolyte balance. If you're already eating well, even a change in seasons can do that. I mean, a lot of times if people travel, they get off a plane and they know they got big fat sausage fingers and their, jewelry's tight and things like that, and then that goes away. Or, you go from air conditioning to the beach and you notice the same kind of thing. That's just your osmolality changing. There's nothing unusual about that unless it stays. If it's staying there all the time, then there might be circulatory issues you could look into. If you got constant cankles, swollen ankles, then that's definitely something to look into when the extremes of the body swell like that. But I would probably say it's a hydration, sodium, potassium issue, but it's still something that you should get checked out. If it's chronic and you're already eating healthy, that really shouldn't be happening unless you're going from air conditioning to really hot and back and forth all the time. Then that could produce that too. But it is a circulatory issue, likely not happening unless you're over 40 as well. If you're under 40 and that's happening, all the more reason to get checked out. So hopefully that helps. What else we got? Hey, Parrot. Yeah, Jim mentioning just the hype on the liquid nutrition. I don't know where the hype is, Jim, because I read textbooks and course material and stuff like that. So that's the problem when you go online and do Google searches. You're reading more hype than fact. And just because someone can put a study behind some hype, it doesn't make it science. So that's the problem with the consumer mindset. They see a reference or two and they think, well, that's evidence-based fact. No, it's just one research finding. It's a combination of all the research findings that matter, what we call a meta-analysis. So I don't know where that stuff's coming about liquid nutrition hype. Like everything else in the nutrition diet industry world, not the nutrition academia world, but the diet world, everything seems to go in 5-year cycles. Carbs and keto diet will be magic, and then they'll disappear, and then 5 years later they'll come back in another form. Sort of like paleo was an offshoot of, South Beach, which was an offshoot of Atkins, and, they keep trying to reinvent the wheel kind of thing. So as far as the consumer is concerned, Vogue trends tend to go in circles about every 5 years. So I don't know why that is for the liquid nutrition, because unless you have a specific nutritional need, like people who have been badly burned or whatever, then they will have to drink a lot of calories, but that's not the general market. So Tommy wants to know, do you ever use bread as a carb source in a diet, or is it a big no-no? Yes and no. I mean, if people are married to it, then fine, but it's not the most cosmetically friendly thing out there, Tommy. Like I try to give people the most cosmetically advantageous foods when I give them choices, and anything that's flour-based really isn't the most cosmetically advantageous food stuff to be eating. Your body will likely create water in digesting it, and you'll hold water. That's why you'll never see bread as part of a bodybuilder's contest diet, that kind of thing. And then Nancy wants to know my opinion about eating whole eggs as opposed to egg whites. Well, I'm a big egg whites fan, but that doesn't mean one excludes the other. It depends on the picture of the diet as a whole. What does the whole diet look like? So it's not a meal to meal, what about this? What about that? I get those questions all the time, and bad coaches playing doctor online where they're like, oh, eat asparagus, not carrots, because carrots are high glycemic. I mean, all that kind of nonsense. No, they're both really good. So, sometimes all these little, facts don't amount to meaning anything. So that's very important as well. So whole eggs are good. They're fine. Are they better than egg whites? No, not really. I don't find them. I can eat a lot more egg whites, and I find that a lot more filling in volume, just me personally. And I've just been partial to it because it allows more of other foods later in the diet, because you're keeping the fats down so you can get fats from other sources and things like that. Bronco wants to know, can a Platinum Club member, meaning someone over 50, my age, benefit from slingshot effect programming? Ooh, good question. They can, but they would already have to be in pretty good shape, Bronco, with a pretty high work capacity. So that would apply to someone who's been training for years and years. You're certainly not going to give someone over 50 some kind of slingshot training program that's too high in volume for where they're currently at, because fitness and conditioning has to be established first. The base has to be broad and it has to be solid. So unless they've got years and years of training, then the answer is no. But the general answer to your question is, and the pure answer to your question of, can a Platinum member benefit from a slingshot effect program? Well, yes, but there's a lot of ifs and there's a lot of caveats there. So, people over 50, like I said in my book, Physique After 50, there's a lot of limitations that have to be considered, one of which is recovery capacity. It changes when you're over 50. That's a fact. There are no superhuman beings over 50. Superman retired his cape before he was 40, and we have to be realistic about those things. So, okay. Yes, most people with an athletic background, Monica's just writing in that she loves egg whites. I think anyone who comes from the competitive physique world is going to love egg whites. I know my buddy Trevor, who works for the Montreal Canadiens, loves his egg whites and oatmeal for breakfast. That's been my staple for eons and eons. So, Nope, I'm just looking for the next comment. So, any specific reason I left milk out from the HardGainer solution diet? Yeah, a lot of people don't tolerate milk very well, or they think they don't, and it's not a very cosmetically friendly food. And if you were following along earlier, what I was saying there, I'm not sure how to say your name, Kubab or Kubabe, is that you don't want to drink your calories. So I'll have milk. It'll be on a refeed day because I'm trying to get in as many calories as I can. So this morning, for instance, was maple brown sugar muffins with chocolate glazed donut holes and sour cream glazed donut holes and a liter of milk. So I'll have that on my refeed day. But milk isn't very cosmetically friendly. Once again, you're not going to see people in the physique world close to a contest eating bread or having milk. They're just not cosmetically friendly foods. So that's very important as well. And then Perry asked, Perry's a regular. Perry's edited a couple of my books, actually. So good to see you here, Perry. Perry says, for the over 50 trainee, when reading our biofeedback, how sore is too sore to train? Well, you should always train through soreness, not pain, soreness. DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, is something you can train through. So if so, you should do that. If you're so sore that the muscles can't even be touched, a lot of people only get that in the legs or the chest. You can barely touch because it's so sore. Then you've overdone it. But if you're on a properly designed program for where you're at work capacity wise, you shouldn't be experiencing that kind of soreness anyway. That usually comes after long layoffs where people stupidly try to pick up where they left off, and then you're in the kind of pain that is gonna be severely limiting, and you don't ever want that. And again, Perry and everyone listening, over 50 And this is true of everybody, but even more important over 50, remember it's always better to undertrain than to overtrain. But muscle soreness is something you can train through, unless it's so sore you can hardly move your muscles, and no one should be training to that point anyway. That's just more holdover from CrossFit nonsense. Nancy wants to know, steel cutouts or rolled outs. Here again is where the industry wants to create rocket science where it's not necessary. If it's, turn over the bag, if the ingredients just says 100% rolled outs, that's fine. Like people want to micro analyze everything, and that's just, you don't need a degree in biochemistry to eat healthy. I mean, let's just get back to basics. So that's what someone asked me yesterday, which was a great question. Someone wrote in to Facebook yesterday and said, Coach, in your, I think it was my HardGainer, or was it my ladies train at home program, no, it was Andy's Awesome Abs. It mentions that you guys talk about calorie levels and things like that, that's going to be in the program. And she was wondering, like, doesn't that go against what you're saying, that I thought you didn't work with calories? I don't work with calories, but the fact is, when you make a product for public consumption, you have to assume that most of the people out there do. They want some kind of caloric reference, because that's what the North American mindset knows. And in the past, where I've completely avoided that to make that point that you don't need to do that, that was one of the critiques of previous products. Well, I need a calorie level starting point, or I need this, or I need that. We do specify we don't work with calories and we don't crunch numbers, but it does give people a starting point where they can then learn about how to assess biofeedback in terms of hunger, and then determine portion sizes accordingly. And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, with the letters that I wrote, or the letters that I read, that came in from my clients. They're talking about their biofeedback. Should I have a refeed this week, or should I have a half a refeed this week? They weren't making that decision on their own. They were asking me, that kind of thing. So very, very important there. Next question. No questions coming in. Okay. Now, yesterday was also a question when I set up the Facebook Live notification. Someone asked to talk about... Janine wants to know how you can get access to the Ladies Train at Home program. How can you access that in Australia? Through Amazon. Just go to Amazon, and it's under one of my books. I think it's called The Busy Woman's Train at Home. But we're turning that into a course. So that's going to be like way bigger than the book. We're shooting all those circuits right now. But it's online, or it's go to scottabelfitness.com. You'll find it there. And you should be able to access that. You might just have to use the Australian suffix, like .au rather than .com. Depends how you're registered with Amazon. We've had that issue in the past, so that's important to consider too. Yesterday, someone wrote in and asked, would I talk about the relation of testosterone to body fat levels? Yes, they're absolutely correlated. That's one of the reasons that biologists and sociobiologists suggest that men tend to have half the body fat as women, is because we have twice the testosterone or more. So those things are definitely coordinated. Those things are definitely, they are cause and effect. So if you're low in testosterone as a man, and chronically low for reasons you shouldn't be, then yeah, you are likely to have a sort of a softer look, gain weight easier, hold more water as a male. That's entirely true. So I think I wrote about this in August 2015 on my blog. I think I talked about hormone replacement therapy, especially for men. So yeah, that'll be, that's something that definitely cause and effect related. So, will the HardGainer solution program coming out be good for physique over 50 people? Sure. I think all my products are good for anyone who wants to learn. Like it depends, a lot of people just think in terms of application. Will this work for me? Will this do it for me? That's one way of looking at anything, but another way of looking at something is a deeper understanding of methodology, so you can do something about it. I read all the other experts who I don't necessarily practice. I don't practice functional training for athletes or any of that stuff. I'm about physique transformations and weight loss. So, but I read them to understand their methodology, which gives me a deeper understanding of my own principles and methods. So if someone wants to be more well-rounded in what they know and understand, then the more you read, the better. So, sure, I would go and read an article on, well, I've read books on menopause, for women. Not because it's something that's going to help me, but because it gives me a deeper understanding of what I do and who I work with. So it's the same thing for consumers out there, like, oh, which product of yours should I get? And I would always say get all of them if you want to have a deeper understanding. So it's that kind of thing. Like when I read J.C. Santana's latest book, it's all the functional training for athletes. And then there's a whole section in the end where he breaks down training programs for beach volleyball and for golf and for tennis and for baseball. And you can then, by doing that, you can read how his explanation of his methodology goes to his actual application, so you can have a deeper understanding of how those things connect, even if it doesn't apply to you. So I would say all those, it depends on how educated someone wants to be. You can't just look at the personal benefit if you really want to be more educated in something. So that's important too. Can I talk about some of the challenges a woman in menopause faces with training and diet and what changes, if any, should be made? Well, it's a bit of a sticky wicket there. A lot of women experience menopause in completely different ways, which is still kind of confusing. I'm a big fan of hormone replacement therapy for men and women over the age of 50. The latest craze for hormone replacement therapy for women is small doses of testosterone, but you'd have to find an endocrinologist who is actually up on their research to, advocate that. So that's important. Now, there are other challenges. I think too many women want to over aerobicize their fat burning. That's not going to work over 50. You want to get stronger and stronger so that you can offset the ravages of sarcopenia that are going to happen to women a lot faster over 50 than they'll happen to men. So that's important. You should eat healthy. Sorry, I'm just reading some other comments. And healthy to me means including, healthy carbs, starch carbs, not being afraid of carbs. I know there's some keto advocates out there who are trying to use menopause as another way of marketing the nonsense of keto. But again, I'm talking about what is sustainable and what is realistic. So that's important as well. So, but you have to definitely take care of things like smaller portion sizes and getting used to a certain level of hunger, what we call tolerable hunger, being the new norm. For someone like myself who's been in the fitness industry, staying lean for a long time, tolerable hunger is just something you get used to. So I can definitely tell you that anyone can get used to it. It's just the game you play in your mind about hunger that matters. So that's why a lot of people don't ever get there, is because for some reason they've been misled to believe that weight loss doesn't come with increased hunger. Those two go together. So it's how you deal with increased hunger which will determine whether or not the weight you've lost will stay off. So, and Nancy, who's 63, just wrote in her comment that she feels so much better eating starches. There you go. I don't think those kind of things change. But biochemistry and hormonally, we become disadvantaged after age 50. So that's in my book, Physique After 50. That's something you would want to take up with your endocrinologist. Endocrinologists recommend that I tried reducing fat, trying HRT, but in the HardGainer solution, mentioned HardGainer should focus on muscle. But when I say the HardGainer should focus on muscle, that's talking about training. Your endocrinologist is talking about hormone replacement therapy. Like I said, I'm a big fan of that. So, and reducing fat, you can reduce fat by training the muscles and training for strength. So she said reducing fat before trying HRT. Depends how much fat you have, but HRT can help in reducing fat. So a good endocrinologist would know that because our hormonal capacities and our biochemical processes get disrupted over 50. So having them back online, that helps. Let's say, think of it a lot like an internet connection. If you have a really low internet capacity, right? And you're depending on bad Wi-Fi connections, your internet is going to come and it's going to go. And let's say your job depends on being on social media all through the day, but your internet is wonky and keeps going on and off, then you're not going to be very effective online. Well, the fat loss with the hormonal disruptions, after age 50 is kind of like the same thing. Think of your hormone replacement therapy as kind of like having a really good internet connection with really, high power, high speed, advanced modem kind of thing versus one that's, not very good and it's always getting disrupted and always getting interfered with. That's kind of the analogy of what happens to our bodies over 50. So your endocrinologist should know that if she wants you to reduce fat because of your age, hormone replacement therapy will help you do that because it'll normalize your body systems more so than they probably are if you're over 50. So hopefully that makes sense there. Would the Busy Woman's program still be good for someone in menopause, or is it better to stick with Physique After 50? I would say, Tony, the Physique is definitely for women in menopause because I designed it as a program that can be done at home. So it's not done, I'm no longer doing programs for high-end, fitness athletes and this and that. I'm doing it for populations that can get the most out of it. So now, like I said, we are turning that into a course. So what I would probably suggest is that you just stick with the Physique After 50 program until the Train at Home Tighten and Tone Shaped and Sculpt program comes out, and then maybe opt to switching over for that. But yeah, it's very good because it targets training the muscles, but it targets in a way that's circuit training. So it's also metabolic in effects. So you're going to get the fat burning effects plus, fighting against sarcopenia, that kind of thing. So that's a great question. Great question. So Janine's just saying my book Zen Fitness Tao Health sounds amazing, and I need my own TV show. Well, if you know any TV producers, I'd be happy to have my own TV show. That would be fine. But yeah, you could read Zen Fitness Tao Health. That's on Amazon as well, and you can get my Mindset of Achievement over at my Scott Abel Fitness website for free, actually. Okay, someone's saying I don't do cardio unless I go to Orange Theory, but I feel like I need weights. I'm 46. Do weights 2 or 3 times a week at the gym. Am I losing too much muscle with Orange Theory? I am thinking of canceling. If you're 46 and female, pushing all this boot camp kind of stuff and keep the heart rate up and, it's funny. I say, I watch the people in the boot camp classes at the gym I go to all the time. None of them change. None of their physiques ever change. I see many of them leaving the gym exhausted and sweating and red-faced. Okay, you've done something, and if that's all you want to do, if that's all going to the gym means to you, then I have no problem with that. But if you're actually trying to accomplish something, like change your body fat percentage and resculpt and refine your physique, then you're not going to do that in boot camp classes and things that are all about, keeping your heart rate up and training hard for a short period of time. And you have to do sustainable activity with resistance training. That is just the fact. So it's funny how over the course of a lifetime, training priorities can change. And I explain that in my book, Physique After 50, where you start out with body part training and then you sort of morph into trying different modes of training, whether it's HIIT or whether it's strength training or powerlifting or these kind of things. But once you're over 50, you have to loop back around to body part training. It's the safest, most productive form of training, traditional body part bodybuilding training, which I talk about in my book, Physique After 50, because after, and for ladies a little earlier, 46 is about that age. At a certain age, you have to think not just about keeping lean mass, you have to think about protecting your joints. There isn't anyone alive who's been training who gets to age 50 without some kind of joint issue somewhere, whether it's lower back pain, knees, hips, shoulders, whatever. So you have to keep these things in mind. Prevention becomes way, way better option than cure. So that's important as well. So yeah, just Tommy thanking me for my books. He's been reading Understanding Metabolism, the Cycle Diet, the Abel Approach, and waiting for his HardGainer solution. Well, I appreciate you reading all those books, Tommy. And the Cycle Diet is also a course. Don't forget the cycle.diet. You can get that at the cycle.diet. So keep that in mind as well if you haven't taken the course yet. Okay, so for hormone replacement therapy, if you're in your 30s, then I would agree with your doctor there that, try to lose weight on your own first. And that's where a little bit of help can come in. Having a good coach guide you, having a good plan that's not vogue trend-based online. Ooh, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. Ooh, I'm going to do if it fits your macros. Ooh, I'm going to do keto. All those short-term vogue trendy things left on your own. Remember, quality of mindset determines quality of behavior. So it's about having the right mindset for losing weight if you ever want to sustain the weight you lose. So that's very important as well. So Orange Theory, Tony, is a new kind of training. It's trying to be the next CrossFit. It's based kind of on CrossFit. I'm sure when we hang up from this and you go to Google, you will find, something along. Just type in Orange Theory Fitness and you'll find all kinds of stuff. So that's important as well. The Train at Home, the upcoming Train at Home program Nancy's asking about wouldn't be access to using heavy weights. Correct. It's not a heavy weights program. It's not about that. It's about shape and sculpt, tighten and tone for women. It's not about hanging and banging at all. It's about ladies who want to lose weight, shape and sculpt, tighten and tone, not necessarily get bigger, get stronger. Like I said, I don't have, I'd rather appeal to the wider audience and their needs rather than the narrow audience of like people who want to get on a stage someday or something like that. So there's a real need for busy women to be able to train at home where they don't have to, and this is explained in the Busy Woman's Train at Home book. That's already available. Some ladies just don't have time to drive to the gym, take the kids to daycare, work out, pick the kids up at daycare, even if daycare is at the gym, and then, prepare them in their car seats, take them home, this and that, when they could save those 20 minutes would actually make them train. So, so that's very important. So, yeah, just some comments on Orange Theory, so you can just look that up. So glad you got the Cycle Diet course there, Tommy. So personal question. Let me see if I hate when I see those. More of a personal question. Was there anything that surprised you as you are progressing through your 50s, like how you feel, your mental capacity? This is for those of us who are just a little bit behind me. Well, how fast it comes on at 50. Several people in the past who are a little older than me told me it's almost like your body knows you turn 50 and things change almost, to the day. And I always thought that was a little weird. And I mean, they weren't being literal, but that's exactly how it feels. So, at 50 is where you feel what you did in your younger years the most, right? So former football players, NFL football players, after age 50, their bodies are like they're 70, right? Their knees, their hips, the osteoarthritis in my shoulders, the bony changes that take place. Well, that's, the degree to which I have it is reflective of my hanging and banging in my 30s, performance enhancing drugs and being able to do shoulder presses with 110-pound dumbbells did my shoulders no favors for when I turned 50 and things like that. So, yeah, but there's a lot of things also about turning 50. I think you can't, and this is in the book, my book, The Aging Proposition. So for all you out there, at one point, my books, Physique After 50, and my other book, the follow-up book, The Aging Proposition, at one point they were number 1 and 2 on Amazon, which made me very proud and very happy. But, the other thing for over 50 is the flexible mindset. If you just think in your limitations, then that's going to get you down. I think what the 50s offers me is just so many greater opportunities to once again reinvent myself, think outside the box. There's nothing like the contentment that's offered to the older person who's lived a life and can use life experience as a way to calm the F down and realize the things that matter and the things that don't. In your 30s and 40s, you tend to inflame things that don't really matter as much as you think they do. And you sort of wallow in the drama of it, self-created drama. And in the 50s, if you've lived a life experience, you learn enough what you can let go of. If it's not helping you, you just let go of it. You don't fight it anymore. So there's a lot of other things to offer. So I can do a whole podcast on that at some point. If you write into the Smarter Sculpted Physique podcast and ask for that subject, then we'll do a podcast on it. So Perry writes, Scott, you do a great job explaining the indirect relationship between strength and hypertrophy for the group. Will you expound on that a bit? Well, it's just a common mistake in this industry, which has always existed, that's always frustrated me, is this notion that strength experts keep wanting to tell people online how to create better bodies. Well, strength experts aren't experts in creating better bodies. All right. Arnold was never, ever a weightlifter, and he wasn't a very good power lifter. He created a multiple Mr. Olympia physique by training for a great physique. Then those things are different. So we've got far too many strength experts telling people how to develop bodies, and of course their own training paradigm blindness comes in there, saying train for strength and development will come. Well, that's not true. It's never been true. If you go to natural powerlifting events, you're not going to see very many excellent physiques. Go to natural bodybuilding events and you'll see a lot of good physiques. So it's the type of training that matters. Again, even in strength, there's strength experts that have dieted once in their life to get lean, and all of a sudden they're writing books on how to get lean. Well, you know what? Not only my own body that I got lean back my first show in 1983, 93, 03, 13, but I've been getting other people lean for those decades afterwards since. I think I know a little more about it than some strength expert who's dieted once in his life. Yet he's the guy online, so people go to them for, how to get lean. And I don't think people understand the level of intelligence and nuance it takes to peak a physique for a contest where everyone else is peaked as well. Everyone else has been dieting for 5 or 6 months to get stage ready. How did my people always end up winning? You have to have a certain higher end understanding of how food works in the body for that, like fat loading and things like that, water control. So all those things, Perry, is just, we got people with very little experience talking in an area that's outside, their world of experience. So that doesn't really, has never been true, that if you train for strength, I trained for strength because I started out in a powerlifting gym and all I got was frustrated and hurt. So that wasn't the path for me. And I know since I've said that several times in podcasts and interviews or whatever, that resonated with a lot of other people as well. So in one of the first contests I did was a lesson that stuck with me that didn't stick with many, but it was just a local contest. But as I used this example before, everyone was afraid of this guy in the city that was a power lifter. And he was he could squat 700 pounds. And back then, that might as well have been 5,000 pounds because back then, that was just unbelievable. So in a t-shirt and stuff, I mean, he was the guy, no one was going to beat him. He was walking around all, I'm the man, I'm the man. And he was when it came to t-shirts and stuff. And the guy no one paid attention to, who was always between sets doing push-ups and then doing sit-ups that everyone just kind of walked by and sort of smiled at. Well, what ended up happening in the contest is the powerlifter didn't even place. He got like 5th or 6th. He looked terrible. He wasn't ready. He wasn't dieted down. And the guy no one paid attention to, doing the sit-ups and the push-ups between sets, he won. He won handily. His abs were in. He was ripped. He was cut. And he wasn't strong. No one ever looked at him lifting a weight and the gym stopped moving. He just, used weights like tools, as you should be doing as well. So Michelle says, yesterday you demonstrated a tweak for a cross-chest tricep press. Actually, tricep extension. A press is a push motion, and extension is arm flexion. But okay, is there an alternate exercise that puts less strain on the outer elbow? That one should put less strain on the outer elbow. Actually, if you have outer elbow strain, it's probably other exercises you're doing. So we call that lateral epicondylitis. There's 2 kinds, medial epicondylitis, known as golfer's elbow, and lateral epicondylitis, which is known as tennis elbow. So you're probably doing other motions that are influencing that. So when it gets to triceps, where you actually are extending the arm, then that's why and when you're feeling it. So I would switch to cable work for triceps right now, especially like reverse grip pushdowns and stuff should ease that. And just do higher reps under very good control, Michelle, and hopefully, that's a little tendonitis is what the epicondylitis thing. Hopefully that'll go away just by training around it. Remember, those kind of injuries, the phrase is train around them, not through them. So you don't just tolerate the pain and keep doing the same thing that's aggravating it. That makes no sense, right? So you find exercises that still target the muscles you need to target, but don't aggravate the area with pain. So pain then, in that instance, that becomes your useful tool. Pain is meant to communicate with you and teach you something. So you would just do whatever exercises for you don't produce pain or too much pain. So hopefully that helps there. But there's a myriad of exercises you can do. So would the HardGainer program be a good fit for someone who's not necessarily a HardGainer yet, but wants to bulk? Yeah, I've had, even Andy Sinclair, if you got the Abs by Andy product, absbyandy.com, you noticed that he said he did the HardGainer solution for months and loved it. And I've had a few hardcore bodybuilders write me who said they have done it and they loved it as just a general change up from typical 1 body part per day training. They loved it. So just someone asking me about the strength and hypertrophy, but your comment ran out there, Tony, so I don't know. Something about Ronnie Coleman and Dorian Yates. And I don't really follow that stuff anymore unless there's teachable moments in there. So Bronco, I can't. What is my take on fat bars and dumbbells and fat grips? Depends what you're trying to do. For people trying to get strong and they need grip strength, then those things are okay. By and large, they're, again, more stuff that's overstated that's not necessary. So I won't own any. I don't need them for what I'm trying to do. So again, it depends. Like, what tool do you need for the job is the question, right? Do you need fat bars to develop a physique? No. Are they useful in developing a physique? No. Are they useful for grip strength and strength, and therefore strength in general? Yeah. But programming is way more important, so that's important too. Alexandra, okay. Well, folks, that looks to be my hour, so hopefully you guys benefited from being here. I tried to answer as many questions as I could. Hopefully the letters to the coach helped. And so if you like the show, throw some thumbs and hearts across the screen. Facebook likes that stuff, apparently. From now on, every Sunday I'm on, I come on. So by all means, every Sunday, hit your share button or look for the notifications, and we'll get get more people signing in and tuning in and all the rest. So hopefully you could all see and hear me okay. Appreciate the likes, and hopefully you found some value in this. So again, we seem to be talking about my books, Physique After 50, HardGainer Solution, and the Busy Woman's Train at Home protocol, and the cycle diet seem to be things we were talking about most here. So people need to know I get up at 3 in the morning on Sunday so I can bring this to you guys a few hours later. So I usually get up at 4 every day, but now on Sunday, because of Breakfast with the Coach, I get up at 3 in the morning. So I can have my coffee and sit for a minute and come down and share with y'all. So thanks for being out there. If you weren't there, it wouldn't make much sense for me to be here. So get yourself off to the gym. It's time for me to have my Greet the Morning walk. And I'll see you all next week, if not sooner. So thanks for tuning in.